Hello Rovers, today I'm inside the Homestead shop and I'm going to show you how you can install your very own overhead garage door just like the one behind me. Let's crack on. Well, it's a bit of a cool day today. We certainly have a bit of a chill in the air. Autumn is here. The geese have already flown south. So the building is almost at lockup. I have the windows in, I have the man door in, I have the soffit and fascia all complete. All that's left at this point is the garage door. Now a lot of people are intimidated by the installation or the idea of installing their own garage door. And I'm here to tell you that it's really not that difficult. Anybody with just some basic hand tools and hand skills will have no problem installing a garage door in just a few hours. Anyway, let's crack on. Now this is a 7-foot by 9-foot garage door. You have reinforced points on each side, in the middle, and the other side. Now before tackling any project, it's always best to get all the equipment out, all the parts, make sure they're all there, understand where they go and what they're used for. So first off, you need to get a rough opening. So this rough opening is to accommodate a 9-foot door. I've made the opening 8 feet 11 and a half. Now you could make it the full 9, but it'll make sense why I made it a little bit shorter in a few moments when we go to install it. So there's a 2x6 that we'll be attaching the tracks to. Because of the type of installation, I just need a 2x4 header across the opening. And then on the left side, another 2x6. Make sure you install them nice and plumb. The second thing I've already done is I've installed the track. So you start with the track on the highest side and then get it up off the ground so the bottom doesn't rust out on you. You can get it up probably 3/8 of an inch to a 1/2 inch. Then make sure you install it plumb, which means you stick a level on it and make sure it's reading level all the way up. Plumb is the correct term for vertical, level is horizontal. And then on the 2x4 header that you're seeing that's going across the opening, I know it to be perfectly level, so I've established index lines on my 2x6, and that'll help establish the height of the tracks to ensure that the door is level when it's inside the tracks. And moving on, the door itself. So the first thing you have to do is install these pieces on the bottom. There's one for each side and they're special. They have a little knob sticking out, and that's in order to put a piece of wire rope around, which will go up to a spring system that'll assist the door going up. Secondly, you need to start putting the hinges on. So these are very simple to do. There's just 2 bolts. Well, they're a machine screw really, and it goes in and it taps itself into this steel and it holds it nice and secure. You'll be doing that again in the center and on the right side. So again, there's a special bottom piece and then a regular hinge. This panel is all ready to install now. Now we know, of course, this is the bottom panel because it also has the weather stripping along the bottom. The other 3 panels, they're all identical. So it really doesn't matter how I install them in what order, but the manufacturer actually has numbered everything. So the bottom being 1, the next panel 2, 3, 4. Stick with the order just in case they're manufactured slightly different. This is an econo door. It's what we might call the bottom of the line, but they're perfectly fine. They're just a little bit flimsy while they're in this, as you can see here. But that'll be fine. Once it's installed and in the track and attached to the other panels, it'll stiffen up quite a bit. All right, so let's carry on here. So installing this first panel, this base panel, it's really important that it goes in level and exactly centered in the opening the way you want. If you do this correctly, everything else will follow so easy. So put the little wheels inside these openings. Make sure these are laying down. Then just pick up the door panel. And these are pretty light. And then just, oh, I'll have to move this sawhorse. Then just angle it in. It's as simple as that. Next thing you want to do is check the level. Now, because the door is so flimsy, the best way to do it is to check it in the center, because there's a support here and it should give you a fairly accurate reading. So what I'm looking at here is a perfectly level door. The bubble is perfect. And there's no real change in the level, so the level's reading level. I've taken the time already to ensure that the door is centered. I have some index lines drawn here. So we're in a good position now to put on this track right here. Now, before you put this track on, we have to put the little wheels back in. To make my job easier, I've taken these brackets off of the track and installed them in the wall, already in a position that will make this part of the track plumb. That'll only take you a few seconds to do. Then, slide the track over the wheels. You're not done, but this is a great start. So now I've put a couple of shims under the track. And now the pencil line on this bracket lines up with the index line that I've drawn across the 2x6. Now I'll just take these bolts and secure it to here. Unfortunately, I can't hold the camera and do that at the same time, so you'll have to imagine this happening. So now I've secured the track to these brackets. The brackets are lagged into the 2x6, and we're reading level, or we're reading plumb rather, and our track is lined up at the correct height. And we'll just verify one more time that our door is level. So this is the second panel that I'm prepping to go into the tracks right now. This is the correct hinge. It's a number 2. So it goes at the top of this panel. A number 1 hinge, which is already attached to the previous panel, is already there, and it'll get attached to here. The center of this panel receives a number 1 hinge, as do all the centers all the way up. And this side, we just leave it blank for now, because in order for the wheel to get into the track, we have to put it on after the door is in place. So let's just crack on with that right now. Okay, so that's still nice and loose. So now we want to make sure that the edge for this hinge is right at the top of the door. Well, we're happy with that. Snug it up. Just yep, we're fully snugged. So now just give them that little extra tightening. There we go. You have to develop a feel for this. There's no easy way. You can feel the tension building. Stop. Don't keep going until that tension is released, because if you carry on cranking this, torquing it, you will strip the steel, which I've said now a few times. I'm not going to say it anymore. Now, to secure the right side, we take the very same hinge as we were using on the left side, but we can't attach it to the door because it just simply won't fit into the track. So you put it on after the door is installed, just angle it slightly, and then line it up with the holes. Again, nice and loose. Okay, so back that off a little bit. And we're in a good position right there. Okay. Okay, make sure it's going on nice and plumb, and it is at that point. So, nice. So now we have our second panel in place. It's not going to fall down, but we have to secure the center point now. So now we're looking at 2 panels installed. The third panel is really just more repetition of what we just did, with the exception that you'll use the appropriate hinge on the 2 edges, on the top 2 edges. Okay, so now I'm going to take some lag screws, which are like a bolt, only they're very coarse thread and they are designed to drive into wood. So we have lagged, or I'll be lagging this bracket onto the wood. It's best to pre-drill as I've already done, and then just drive the screw in and it won't split the wood. Again, don't send them in all the way, just send them in, say, 90% of the way, and then come back with a wrench and tighten them up. All right. Next step is to take our level, put it on here, and make sure that we are plumb. And when you are, then you can take the wrench and tighten these up. Okay. Now, the next step is to put the curved section of track on. Now, at this point, just want to hand tighten all these things because we have to make sure that these tracks are running parallel to each other. And then when we have determined that, that's when we tighten up all these nuts. But we're just going to get them tightened just to a little over finger tight so nothing falls down. Okay, so that's the installation of the horizontal track. Now, I haven't tightened anything up because we still have to make some adjustments. You'll notice that I'm suspending this on the step ladder. On the previous one, I had wired it to a truss. Again, that's just temporarily until we can establish that both tracks are running parallel to each other. So that'll be the next step. Full disclosure, when I installed this bracket originally, I did so upside down. I've now corrected the error, and in order to secure it properly, there's the original hole from the lag screw, and when I turned it around, I had to punch and drill 2 fresh holes in order to secure the bracket, in a strong fashion. So learn from my mistakes, and if you're doing this very same door and you come across this bracket, this is the orientation that it should go in. It's not really that clear in the manual, so I'll just make sure you can see it right here. Secure the track and make sure the track is perpendicular to the front. So to assist me in this, I know that my wall right here is perpendicular to the front. So I just measured out from the wall both at the beginning of the track and at the end of the track. Then I secured it with this brace. Now you can fabricate any kind of brace you want. You want to make sure that it has diagonal support as well as support in the plumb or in column. Then once you've established this, measure over the width of the door as the door is at the tracks. And then you secure this brace. As well, I have a piece of wire holding it, and I actually just temporarily held it in place with this bracing system The wire was taking most of the weight, and then I rolled the door up just to confirm that the door was running true in the track, and then I permanently secured the bracing. The next step is to install the extension spring and cables. So there's a nice little hook up here that we just bolt in to our support, and then on the other end of the spring we just attach this pulley following the manufacturer's instructions. On the other end of the door we install another pulley, and there's the cable, and the cable goes down to that little nub that sticks out of the bottom bracket that we attached to the door. Now, after wrapping the cable around this pulley, we bring it back to this S-hook and secure it to this horizontal section of track. There's a way to tie this knot, which I've done correctly, but again, it's illustrated very carefully in the manual. Now, if the installation has been done correctly, the door will be very easy to open and will stay open at pretty much any level that you leave it at. So let's go just test that right now. So it's quite light to lift up. And let's just try holding it a little higher. It's about 3/4. And now we'll just put it all the way up. Now the door is open and it's staying open by itself. The door comes down nicely. No problem. So there's really no need to adjust these springs any further, not at this point. Everything seems to be working just fine. Well, I hope you feel empowered to tackle a project just like this one after this video. And remember, the best way that you can help Mrs. Rover and me is by sharing these videos on your social media. And remember, it's always free to subscribe. So until next time, I'll be right here at Rover's Rest.